Hello, my name is Lillian Hodgson, and this is my thesis for my Cowell 1 class. The short story, The No-Name Woman, shows that second-generation immigrants can be isolated from their culture when growing up in a vastly different American culture. My first claim is that the author felt the need to acknowledge that there were other beauty standards that she might want to adapt to, because the boys would find that prettier. To quote, she said that if I made myself American pretty so that the 5 or 6 Chinese boys in the class fell in love with me, everyone else, the Caucasian, the Negro, and the Japanese boys would too. This picture is showing the modern differences between Western and American beauty standards compared to the Chinese beauty standards. The girl on the left would be considered more attracted and wanted to the majority of American men when compared to the girl on the right, who is following the current Chinese beauty trends. The trends of Western culture having different beauty standards is not a new one, and can be seen in this quote from The No-Name Woman, and the differences have persisted for many decades. When living in America, second-generation Chinese immigrants will struggle between choosing between their parents' old beauty standards from China and then the one that surrounds them in America. Customs directly clash with American customs, and thus those born into this other culture are left in between their ancestral culture and the one that surrounds them, unable to choose. Chinese communication was loud in public, she says. Only sick people had to whisper, which was complete opposite to Americans, in which it's polite to whisper. This picture is a collection of illustrations made by a Chinese-born German artist, Yang Lin, in which she compares her German experiences in blue to her Chinese experiences in red. This picture is called How to Stand in Line, and it clearly shows the differences that these two cultures have from each other in the most basic ways. Because they are so very different, it is hard to find a gray area. For example, if you were to skip the line and assume to stand in a crowd in the Western world, you would be scorned. But if you were to wait in line in China, you would continue waiting forever. Because the two cultures contradict each other so extremely, it is very hard for second-generation Chinese immigrants to keep their ways in America. It is hard to know the difference between actual Chinese culture and the movies, and on page 6, the question is even asked, what is Chinese tradition and what is the movies? Because many second-generation immigrants ask that themselves. The picture on the left is the traditional garbs that movies would lead most people to believe of Chinese culture to be true. The outfits on the right are the factual Chinese traditional garbs that were worn by people of the time period that movie was supposed to be set in. Their outfits on the left are over-exaggerated for dramatic effect. But how would second-generation Chinese immigrants who have never seen or been taught this know the difference? Because they were not exposed to these clothings in China, if their parents do not tell them, they will never know the difference between fact and fiction, and may go their whole lives not knowing this difference. The aim is that many things are not supposed to be talked about in Chinese culture. Her mother even says, "Don't let your father know I told you," many times after telling the story of the No-Name Woman. And this leaves second-generation immigrants in the dark about many things. For example, death in China is a very taboo topic and is not to be talked about, or is a topic that many Chinese people find difficult to speak of. In this picture, you can see how serious this taboo is, because the number 4 also means death in Chinese. Many places will have the little letter F as a floor in elevators instead of writing the number 4, or not even have a level 4. But because there are people not telling second-generation immigrants about certain things because they are taboo, they will never know about the many hidden truths in the culture because they are not surrounded by it as their parents were. The No-Name Woman reveals that second-generation Chinese Americans' isolation from their culture is caused by the intense differences between Chinese and American culture, the contradiction of other cultures' views on Chinese culture obstructing the truth, and first-generation parents' unwillingness to talk about taboo parts in Chinese culture. To truly understand what second-generation Chinese immigrants experience, one must imagine being stuck in between a cliff jump into American culture, unable to come back from where they have gone, or a steep, hard climb up the rocky face of a mountain to find out what their ancestors' true culture truly was.